We're live on a Sunday. My name is Rich Lieberman, and it is the Sunday before Memorial Day in the year 2025. 50 years ago today. It was also a Sunday, a very, very improbable, magical day in the Bay Area. I remember it vividly, as many, many of us did that magical day. Dateline was Landover, Maryland, where the Warriors, who had built up a 3-games-to-none advantage in their first Oakland San Francisco iteration, improbably took the Bay Area, the NBA, by storm, beat the Washington Bullets. They were known as the Washington Bullets at the time. They changed that to the Washington Wizards. But they swept the Washington Bullets, now Wizards, and won their first excuse me. Won their first NBA championship. Swept. Mind you, folks, this was an improbable series win for the Warriors. They were underdogs the entire playoff stretch, but they managed to beat Seattle. They had a very tough series against Chicago, and they went all the way to the NBA Finals. And that's right, 4 games in a row. And mind you, the home games that the Warriors played were at the venerable old barn, aka the Cow Palace. Now, why did they play at the Cow Palace? Because the Oakland Coliseum Arena had been pre-booked for an ice show. The promoters, thinking that there was no way the Warriors were going to make it to the finals, so let's book this ice show. So the Warriors played across the bay at the Cow Palace. That was a magical year, 1975. May 25th, like today, the Sunday before Memorial Day. It was monumental. They even put the momentous win, the 4th win of the series, on the scoreboard at Candlestick Park where the Giants were playing. And everybody got up and applauded, and there was a lot of hooting and hollering. This was the year Warriors had Rick Barry, Clifford Ray, and Jamal Wilkes, and the coach by the name of Alvin Attles, and a trainer by the name of Dick D'Oliva. And it was magical because you had Bill King, as far as I'm concerned, the broadcaster, the play-by-play guy for the Warriors, the best. Bill King did 3 sports. At the time, he was only doing 2, the Raiders and the Golden State Warriors. And it was just unbelievable. They played various songs. They had this mojo like you've never, ever heard before. Oftentimes, the 75 championship team gets overlooked. People go back to this past decade, forget that the Warriors actually won their first championship in the Bay Area in 1975, beat the Washington Bullets. And Bill King, oh my God, he was so terrific. Those of you that know Bill King, what I'm talking about, he was a human wordsmith. Every description, every account was as if you were listening right there at courtside. And it was one of the best. In fact, in the momentous Game 4 of that improbable series sweep by the Warriors, they were playing at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. And there was this big brawl between Rick Barry and one of the forwards from the Bullets, guy by the name of Mike Reardon. And Reardon took a cheap shot, went after Rick Barry, and believe it or not, it involved Al Attles, who saw what had happened. And Al Attles, damn protocol, went into the scroll and started hitting Mike Reardon and Bill King on the play-by-play. Maybe if I find the account, I will post it. But it was a magical day. It was a magical time. It was a time when Bill King was just starting to establish himself as one of the great, great Bay Area broadcasters, an announcer, as they called it back then. And you know what made it even greater, folks? Bill King was solo. He was solo. And I said he was a wordsmith. He could say anything. He could describe it and give you an account, made you feel if you were right there. Who could forget his descriptions of Rick Barry hitting a 24-foot jump shot, or Dudley, Charles Dudley, a.k.a. Hopper, and Jamal Wilkes with his graceful shots from the mid-range. They had no three-point plays back then. But Clifford Ray and the pick and roll from Barry and Derek Dickey and George Johnson and Phil Smith. Man, was it a magical time. And again, folks, this was an improbable series win by the Warriors. And it was like a magical time because Bill King was just so fantastic. We take for granted. And I don't want to compare today's Trek, which is what comprises the Warriors broadcast team, minus their TV guy. It just makes you remember back to the good old days when Bill King was doing basketball. He would subsequently get a third sport and do the Oakland A's with Lon Simmons. His third sport was baseball, not his greatest sport. Basketball, my opinion, number one. Football, Holy Toledo. Both the Warriors and, of course, the Raiders. Unbelievable. So tragic that we lost Bill King way back in 2006. And he will forever be the king of the Bay Area. I mean, there's been very, very many great Bay Area broadcasters, both TV and radio. Think of Lon Simmons and Hank Greenwald. And we can go to all the various subsequent broadcasters. Believe it or not, Al Michaels started here doing the Giants. Lindsey Nelson was a New York broadcaster, but he came to do the Giants in 1979. And when you think back, though, in my book, Bill King was not only a great broadcaster, not only a great announcer, he took his craft seriously. And his foibles were almost as unique. Well, hell, they were. Talking about Russian literature and vodka and food, all in the while calling NBA basketball. I got to go to the Coliseum Arena in those days, and you would bring your transistor radio and listen to Bill King. And it was, as I said, a magical time in the Bay Area because we were getting greedy. We just had the Oakland A's win their third World Series in a row in 74. And in 75, they didn't make it to the World Series, but they won a division championship, lost to Boston. But we had the Raiders, the 49ers, and we're just about getting out of mediocrity and getting into their relevant They weren't great, but they were good. So you had all those sporting teams and all the various goings on, but again, 75, the Warriors. Nobody expected it. It was almost as if they said, you made it to the finals. Now we're playing with house money. But it didn't work that way. Once again, folks, I'm going to try to post the game 4 play-by-play. And I think you'll get the same kind of chill that I constantly get, even 50 years later. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors, your first NBA championship in the Bay Area. And hats off to the late, great Bill King. You can see the photos, one of which is with the late, great Monty Stickles. Folks, if you can, please make a donation. Please subscribe to my channel. It only costs $15. That's $1 a year plus, $1 a month plus $3. And it will benefit this site so I can tell you stories like this, opinions, entertainment, and of course, scoops galore. So click on my PayPal, make a donation, and I personally will thank you.